Are you ready to get your health back but feel overwhelmed by the endless healthcare options? We believe God has called each of us to a specific assignment, and we want to make sure your body, mind, and heart are up for the task. It's time to simplify the process of healing. At Cornerstone Integrative Healing, we offer simple, effective, easy ways to prioritize your health and gain understanding. No prescription pad needed. I'm Kari, a pharmacist turned integrative health practitioner. I'm so excited to have these conversations around topics with my friend, Jenn.
Hi there, I'm Jenn, and together with our team at Cornerstone Integrative Healing, we offer an alternative to traditional healthcare, combining our expertise and experience in the medical field with our knowledge and faith to break the cycles of guessing what's wrong. We know the road to healing, feeling good again, can be overwhelming. You can expect honest conversations around the ups and downs of healing. The truth is, there are so many layers to healing. Because we've taken the time to learn where true healing comes from, we've learned how to help other women discover a different way of caring for themselves. Join us every week for new episodes as we discuss topics that are personal and pertinent to your healing journey.
Welcome back into the podcast. It's Kari and Jenn here. We are continuing our series on just the ways and kind of methodology that we use as we work with clients, and just so you can get a good feel for if we might be a good fit to work together. So we are talking today about stress management and emotional tools, and we've talked about these things before on various podcasts, but we wanted to get just really practical and kind of highlight this area because it is such a big area, right? It's like we all have stressors in there. We know they're affecting our health and probably our emotional and spiritual health as well. And so just having these tools and really focusing on these things are going to be a huge part of a healing journey. So we couldn't leave this out whenever we were just going through this series together. And so Jenn, you want to kind of just share your favorite one, and we'll just kind of go back and forth with a few of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously for me, it's really prayer, because contemplative prayer for me has been life-changing. And to be honest, I didn't know how to pray. I was sort of praying at a kindergarten level, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. I really didn't know how to do like contemplative prayer with scripture. And so for me, really digging into prayer and learning how to do different types of prayer. Lectio Divina is one that we use often in my faith, and that's just slowly reading a scripture verse over and over, maybe 10 times, slower each time, and allowing words or phrases to jump out at you. That's really how I started praying more in a contemplative fashion, and then, closing my eyes and asking to see what God was trying to tell me in those scriptures. So I would say by far prayer, because I feel like, the deep contemplative prayer or meditative prayer has been life-changing for me. And look, like there's tons of study on meditation and contemplative prayer. In fact, one of my friends that's a priest, they actually studied him at the Amen clinics because they wanted to study a brain that prayed a lot. And they showed him how it was literally different than most people's brains because of his, contemplative prayer.
Wow, that's really cool.
It is cool. It's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, first and foremost, like that's the most important one. Of course you started with that one, right? Yeah. Because when we're thinking about just being more aware of what is causing us stress, being more aware of the emotions maybe that are kind of bubbling up and what might be underneath those, the Lord's going to guide us, right? It's right. That is, of course, our cornerstone. That's our foundation when it comes to this topic. But of course, there are other things that we could use to go along with that, to maybe just enhance how we're able to relax in his presence and how we're able to focus on these things. I think these all work together, but by far that should be our foundation for all of these tools.
Go
ahead.
No, I was just going to tell the story about when, we were in Utah and I just wasn't feeling great. I couldn't put my finger on it. And Kari's like, let me test you. I'm like, I don't feel like it. We'll just, test me tomorrow. And then we were just hanging out and chatting. And she's like, maybe, I need to clear some emotions on you. And I was like, yes, that's it. And she did some emotion code on me, which is, a way to really clear some emotions. And I immediately felt different physically,
Yeah.
like drastically.
Yeah, because I mean, some people are just more aware of how other people are, feeling or the things that they might be, I don't know. Some people call that an empath.
Yep.
It just means that you're just more aware of those things. I'm not as much like that, but Jenn is definitely a lot more, in tune with that. And so if you're around a lot of people, you need to be aware that that could be something that really just, how would you describe it? Maybe it just is a distraction. It can also kind of affect you physically, like you were saying, and mentally. Just maybe
Yeah.
overwhelming might be a good way to put it.
Yeah, I don't think it's conscious. So don't feel
Yeah.
like, I mean, maybe sometimes it is conscious, but you
Mhm.
absorb emotions. And I know Dr. Nelson talks about that in the Emotion Code book. We do absorb emotions. We have kind of emotions that we've passed down from generation to generation, believe it or not.
Yeah.
That could be foundational. And so, sometimes we just can't help it. As Kari said, I'm very, what they call, empathetic. And one of the things that came up for me, last week was vulnerability. And that was because, Kari was speaking and I felt vulnerable for her.
Hmm.
Right. So again, there's some things that you can't control, right? Just being, it's who I am. But
Right. And it's
that,
not a bad thing. I don't
no,
want to say that it's a bad thing at all. I think it's a gift, but we just, some of these tools can help us to
stay
release
grounded.
emotions that we're not meant to carry these things around with
Amen.
us.
Yeah.
So,
So I think first is prayer. Second are a lot of these tools. And being aware of the emotions, which emotion code, and using the oils. Like that wasn't something that I used. Of course, it wasn't, something that I was just versed on like Kari was.
yeah.
Um, but as I have used the oils, and if you're part of our circle, that's something we use a lot are the oils with tapping, or emotional freedom technique, because and Kari, you should probably take over here, but the oils basically soften your emotional soil so that when you do the
Okay.
tapping, those negative emotions are more readily released. And maybe you can
Yeah.
jump in and just talk a little bit more about.
No, I mean, oils are really unique that way. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I feel like God brought me to work so much with them, so long ago, and I didn't really realize that they were could affect all the levels of healing, but I have learned that yeah, that's one of the only things that can, as far as like a tool like that we can use. And so I think it's a great thing to even add to prayer time. Honestly, like you
Mm,
can add these things in, these tools in the oils to things you're already doing to just kind of enhance, how you show up basically and just help you to be more clear and more present, and or work through emotions or whatever it might be. I just love that we can use them. We can use them for physical things, but they're going to have side benefits versus side effects. And one of the side benefits is definitely the way that they help you to move through emotions.
yeah, which is, Kari mentioned they work on all levels um, of the body. So we have a physical body, we have an emotional body, mental, we have a spiritual body,
Yeah.
we have an energetic body, and they work on all those levels, which is a very unique
Yeah.
thing. Not many things do that.
Yeah. And side note here, we're not talking about the oils that you get at TJ Maxx. Those are 100% fragrance. That's not the same thing. You need a pure oil to work on all the levels. So that's not apples to apples. So
Right. Yeah. Make
yeah,
sure you're
for
getting a
sure.
really pure quality oil.
Yeah,
Uh,
we use doTERRA. So
right.
I think it's important to invest in quality products like that if you want them to work that way. I
Especially if you're
think that's
taking them
important.
internally,
Oh
because
yeah,
oils can be adulterated and essential oils are very, like, you can only consume certain essential oils, first of all. Second
right.
of all, the quality really matters when you're consuming them because the chemistry has to be right. Just like herbal, extracts, the chemistry has to be right in order to exert its effect.
Right. So same thing here. So
Right.
that really quality really does matter. Um,
Absolutely.
but that is something that we can use along with all of the honestly a lot of the tools that we're mentioning. So we've mentioned prayer, we mentioned emotion code, which, side note, if you are one of our clients, we actually have a workshop that's recorded for you on this very topic that goes into more detail, that can be accessed, and practice better. And there's a book as well that we'll link below. If you're like, I don't know anything about this, you probably just want to check out the book. It's just a really powerful tool that I've seen work firsthand, or I might not believe it. So
Yes, true.
it's pretty cool. Um, and so a few other things that we wanted to mention. There are just that's what I call the three anchors of your day. And this really is just taking sort of timeouts that really help to ground you. And just because I know it's like we have the best intentions maybe in the morning, but then it's like we can't control what happens throughout our day. And so I think it's just important to have kind of timeouts to just recenter, recalibrate, get out of that stress response, and yeah, just really tune back in to what the Lord is asking us to do, and kind of just break up some of that overwhelm that inevitably can happen during the day. So this would just be, a lot of us already have morning and evening routines. Now they might not be serving us very well. So maybe a morning routine for me is definitely first morning light, which we've talked about extensively. And then also quiet time and prayer. That's what I do in the morning. Of course, obviously breakfast, other things like that. But that's kind of my anchor for the morning. And then midday is a one that oftentimes is left out because we just get busy and either maybe we have the best intentions but don't do it, or you just don't realize how important it is. But that to me is honestly one of the most important ones to include, because you do want to break up that stress that it has, just the day-to-day things that you have to do is building. And so this could look like a walk after lunch. It could look like, if maybe it could be a nap some days. That would be amazing, right? But we can't just take naps every day. So maybe it's just you take your favorite oil and you do some really deep breaths for 3 to 5 minutes. That can have a powerful effect. So again, it could be a lot of different things, but I try to tack that on to around lunchtime, or at least before I go pick up my kids, which is kind of mid-afternoon. So I
Yeah.
can tell a huge difference if I don't do one of these things, because I want to show up right for my kids. Like, I'm kind of transitioning out of one role into another. And it's really important that when they end their school day and come home, that I'm not frazzled and feeling very overwhelmed, which probably would be the case if I didn't really make time for this. So, that's the
Yeah.
second anchor. Oh, you
Yeah.
have
I was
something
just
you
going
want
to
to
say
add?
my favorite one for midday is definitely heart math, because
Okay. That's another tool I was going to mention.
yeah, the science literally shows how it interrupts the stress response. And I think midday, we've had the buildup of
Yeah.
all the morning and concentrating and working, and some stress, got in there, of course. And so heart math, as Kari said, even with your oils, is a really, really good way that allows you to deep breathe. It allows you to really focus on positive emotions, and really switches your brain chemistry and links your heart and your brain together.
Mhm.
Interrupting that stress response. And we'll link a little video on heart math
Yeah.
in this episode too. So heart math is a great way, and it only takes 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah. Perfect. I'm actually going to start doing that. I think I don't necessarily think of that one to do midday, but I think that would be a really good one to do
For
then.
sure.
Um, and so obviously the last anchor would be evening routine. I mean, for me, it's like I'm going to block blue light after the sun goes down. I'm going to maybe diffuse some calming oils. I maybe take a bath. I mean, it kind of looks different each night, but again, I'm going to try to not be on my phone as much, be on the TV as much, and just kind of, it could be reading, it could be doing the examine that we mentioned. So in the last episode, actually, we have a YouTube video that we'll link if you are curious about that and didn't listen to the last episode. But
Yeah, examine's a
whatever,
great way
yeah,
to
for
end your day.
sure. Yeah. And just spending more time with and connecting with family, obviously, after everything's kind of done, and just hanging out with them to kind of wind down my evening. But anchors are important, right? I mean, we need spiritual anchors, we need physical anchors, emotional anchors. Like, I think that's some things that we can do that really help decrease stress in our lives, and help us to be in tune with where we are versus just kind of floating through our days and our weeks and our months,
Amen. Isn't
because
that
that's what happens. That's what the world
that's
wants you to
yep.
do. They
Yep.
want to take you on this ride. Um,
Distracted.
yes. So this helps me to be less distracted. And if I do get distracted, I can get back on track quicker, because we're all going to get off track. And so
Right.
these things help us get back on track quicker.
Yeah, and it
Um,
helps us bring to just awareness even to our physical body. Because I
yeah,
sometimes think we tune out, oh, our shoulders are, on our
right.
ears, and or something's hurting, or
Yeah,
maybe you're holding an emotion somewhere, you don't even know it.
yeah,
And so these anchors really allow you to kind of feel that body awareness, your mind. Is there a thought you're holding on to? So that you can engage with these stress management and emotional tools,
right.
right? Because sometimes you might not even know you need them.
Right, that's true. But if you have these things kind of they're habits that you have already done, it just helps you to
Right.
recognize them quicker. And then you
Yeah.
have tools to move through them if that's needed. I mean, it probably won't be needed every day, but if you're more aware of it, that's where it starts. So that's what we're kind of hope that you're getting from this.
Yeah.
Um there is one last thing I wanted to mention, and that's when we're thinking about, kind of tools to manage stress, obviously that can kind of relate back to our nervous system. If we're on edge, if we're kind of just in this go 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 mentality, which we all have to be at some points during our day, we need to get out of that. And so that means helping our nervous system realize that, okay, we don't need to be in this turned on sympathetic state anymore. We can kind of go into that rest and digest state. And so there's three really fast ways that you can do that, and you can use these anytime and a lot of times anywhere. And those are touch, breath, and smell. And so we are actually going to do. We have a video that we've linked for you in the show notes to just help dive deeper into these. But yeah, it's just having these tools so that whenever we do feel these things kind of coming on and we're more aware of them, we know what to do. Right? There's not this sense of panic, like, how did I get off track? How did I, it's just this. That's when we go and we stay in overwhelm, and our body starts to feel it over time. And that's where a lot of, especially women that we see, are. And so it's having these tools in your tool belt. It's putting these anchors in so that you can get out of that stress response and live more, in the heart connected space, doing what God has called you to do.
And just to Carrie's point, you can't think your way out of stress, right? So most
Yeah,
people
that's
think,
true.
okay, I could just change my thoughts. Well, the body only responds about, or the nervous system, I should say, only responds to about 20% of what we call internal input, right? Something that the nervous system is
Yeah,
perceiving internally, like your thoughts. 80% of how the nervous system responds is what they call afferent, meaning from the outside. So if you're doing the touch, if you're doing the smell, if you're doing the deep
yeah.
breathing, those are 80% more effective than just trying to talk yourself out of it.
Because the enemy works on your plane of thoughts. And so it's just, right. We have to use different tools to kind of help our body come back more. Because, too, if you're in stress response, you're not thinking clearly. You're not in your thinking brain. You're in your survival brain. And that's going to lead you astray, especially if the enemy's working on your thoughts, too. It's just not a good combo.
Right.
So, yeah, great point. And go check out that video if you want more information on those tools that you can use to help your nervous system. Because a lot of us are living very dysregulated, and living in that fight or flight survival side of our nervous system, and it is absolutely running our health into the ground, and it is making us disconnected from those around us, which we don't want. So we hope this has been helpful. We're really enjoying this series. I love talking about these things, and you might have heard us talk about them before, but goodness, these things are worth mentioning again because they are literally game changers, and we are products of that, right? We're not
Yes.
perfect, but we're learning. Like, God is showing us, and so we're excited to share those things with you too. And so, if you have questions about anything that was mentioned here, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We have how you can connect with us in the description of this video, this podcast, I should say. And we would love to pray for you if you're struggling. Just reach out. We want to connect with you. So we look forward to hearing from you, and we'll see you on the next episode.
If this episode has served you in any way, drop a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd love it if you'd share any aha moments or takeaways on Instagram and tag us at Cornerstone Integrative Healing.
And if you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do so. We want to continue to walk this journey with you. Until next time, friends, know that we are praying for you.